Happy Monday, Flosstube. It is April the 15th, 2019, and yet another Monday has rolled around. I'm drinking some herbal tea this morning. This is my favorite herbal tea mug. Not too big because I like my herbal tea to be quite concentrated. So I got this mug. I bought this mug last year from, I believe it was a website called Makeology.ca. I'll try to find a link and I'll try to remember to put it in the drop down box below. I also bought a keychain that looks like a banner, you know, one of those pennant banners, and it says I make things on it, and that's my keychain. So I've had a bit of a stomach ache this morning, so I'm going a little light on the coffee, and herbal tea is always my other favorite go-to drink because I just always like a hot drink. Doesn't matter what the weather is like, I like a hot drink. And I'm drinking, actually, this is really yummy, and because it's Canadian, I'll just give it a little shout out. It's called Tealish, and this is a family-run small business that started in Canada, I believe back in, I'm going to say 2005, in Toronto, Ontario. They do have, I think their flagship store is still in Toronto. They've moved a few times with their popularity. They now have a website. You can order directly from them, and I think that they have free shipping within Canada if your order is over $50. I think that's what I saw this morning. If you like David's tea, I think that this is probably along the same lines. If you like, it comes in those nice little tea bags that are, you know what I mean, right? And you can actually see the real pieces of fruit and whatnot in it. Anyways, enough about my tea. It's delicious. It's tealicious. Terrible joke. Oh, and you can also sign up to be on their email list, which I thought was quite cute. Okay, because Monday, I've got a giveaway because it's Monday. Last week's giveaway was the Sue Hillis Designs Shoot for Your Goal. This cutie pie right here. Now, we had 16 comments on the Facebook group post for this design, but the last 2 comments were from Betty, who had posted 2 photographs of 2 of the patterns that she had stitched from this series. So she did want to be entered in the draw. She just wanted to show off her finishes, and they're really cute. So if you missed those, go check out the comment section of last week's Because Monday, and you'll see how Betty finished hers. So there were, I cut that down then to 14 comments, and the random number generator chose comment number 9. So congratulations, Pam Welsh. This pattern will be going out to you. Now, little disclaimer, I'm quite behind in sending out giveaway prizes. I have at least 5 or 6 giveaways still to mail out. So if you are waiting, don't worry, I eventually send them out. It's just, I kind of like to do them all together. I save them all up, and you know, I'll send out a whole batch of them together at the same time, just to sort of batch tasks together, if that makes sense. So today's giveaway, brand new giveaway for today, it's a small little Lizzie Kate snippet for We Walk by Faith. So it's a little snippet that's up for grabs today. You will be able to find the entry for this Because Monday giveaway on our Facebook group, Friday Off the Grid. This does include the charm. There's the little charm that's inside, if you can see, it goes right there. So that charm is, it's attached on the inside of the snippet pattern. So good luck if you'd like to win this. I hope you'll leave me a comment, and then I will choose for that draw next Monday. Now, next Monday is Easter Monday. My plan is to still put out a video. I will probably record up in the in my storage teaching area where I did a lot of my Flossmas episodes, only because it is not a stat holiday here in Canada, or I should say it's a bank holiday, but it's not a. Okay, my husband has a retail store. The store is open, so that's kind of what I mean, right? The kids have the day off school. The kids are going to be here. It's going to be, you know, the house won't be quiet. So I will go up there. I hope to go up there and still record a Monday video. I like routine. I like staying in my routine. Okay, so that takes care of Because Monday. The next item of business that I need to take care of before I move into the mailbag this morning is I was contacted a few weeks ago. Now this is maybe starting to sound a bit familiar because lots of Flosstubers now have been putting out their videos about receiving packages from MyBobbin.com. I was also contacted by Olga from MyBobbin.com, and I was allowed to choose some things from their website. They offered to send me a few things so that I could review their service, their content that's on their website, see what I thought, and then, you know, basically tell you about it, because they're trying to expand their family business a little bit more globally. They are based in Russia, and so they're trying to sort of expand their market. First of all, first impressions were very good. And I think that the other reviews from other Flosstubers that I've watched, I just watched Dina last night. Dina had in her video, her latest video that's up, she just did her review as well. And I've watched Ginger Gerald's and Teresa Little Stitcher, and I know a few other Flosstubers have also done their reviews as well. And I think we're all kind of in the same boat, that the experience has been basically very positive, very friendly, very good English in communication. When you, if you have a question, it's usually answered very quickly. And you know, Olga was the only person that I was contacted by and spoke with, but her English is, perhaps it's her first language. What do I know? But it was excellent. She was very easy to communicate with and very helpful. I did have, when I went to place my order through the website in the way that they wanted me to, in order to have the things sent to me, it did not take my address the way that it would be formatted to receive mail in North America. I believe it was formatted the way that you would format a Russian address. I'm just guessing here. That's my best guess. But when it came up that is this the address that we're going to send it to, I thought, that's never going to get here. Canada Post, bless Canada Post. You know, they can be great most of the time, but sometimes if there's any kind of, you know, little hiccup on anything, it can take a while to get your stuff, or, you know, it is what it is. Love you, Canada Post. So anyways, I contacted Olga and I said, you know, I think there might be a problem with this arriving at my address because of the way that this is formatted. What do you think? Because this is how my address should look, and this is how it's coming out. And she was awesome. She said, okay, I'll have my service guys look into that, but, you know, for now, just go in and tell me what you want, and I'll make sure that it is correct. And it was. And I got it super fast. I mean, I'm going to say it was 2 weeks, less than 2 weeks, maybe 10 days from Russia. And it was easy as pie. So one thing, she asked me to mention their sort of their motto, their credo. So I want to make sure that I got the wording right. So I'm just going to read it. This is directly from Olga. We'll be very grateful if you can make a point to our motto that we offer local prices to global market, and this is why our goods cost less. Okay, so that way I made sure that I got it right the way that she wanted me to say it. And not that she was, I'll be honest with you, okay? When I was first contacted, I didn't answer right away because I am not one to, you know, usually I like something and I'll just tell you about it. I was a little uncomfortable at the beginning to be asked to provide a review, but then she sent me another email and she said, you know, we want you to be honest, good or bad. And I thought, okay, well, if it's bad, I'll be honest. So nothing about it was bad other than the address formatting, and that really wasn't bad because they fixed it right away. Okay, so let me show you what I chose. I chose two things. One was a PDF, immediate download pattern pack, and the second thing was a full kit. I have not opened the kit that arrived in the mail because, like the other Flosstubers who have done the review, I thought you might like to see how it arrived. My wrapping paper is different than Gerald's and Dina's that I noticed, and I got a cute little sticker on the front. So nicely wrapped, nicely packaged, and you know, it arrived in a poly envelope. So, you know, very straightforward, very easy. So I'm going to open that in a minute, but let me show you my PDF first. Okay, so it is in Russian. However, there are some English translations within the pattern. So I'm going to show you what I picked because I have a funny feeling that there's going to be a few of you out there that are going to fall in love with this pattern. And yes, it's in Russia, but let's face it, the world has become a very small place when it comes to purchasing things from far away that are instant downloads. Wait till you see this. Okay, so birds. You know me, you know you know that I love birds. And this is an entire booklet. I think that the whole PDF is about 145 pages. I believe the cost on the PDF booklet is about $33 US, but that is for all of these patterns. That's for all of these patterns. I also believe that you can buy them individually. Pretty sure. I'm pretty sure you can buy all of these bird patterns individually. I liked them all, so I requested that I could have the booklet that had all of the patterns, and they were very kind and said that I could. Okay, so we're just gonna guess that that says birds. My best guess. If you speak Russian and you know what that says, please let me know in the comment box below because I'd love to know. The first one that I'm starting with is this one up here. Eventually, I haven't kitted it up yet, but it's the one that I printed out first. So now the title of this, and I'm going to show you I'm going to show you the first page where it tells you what you need for it so that you can see exactly what it looks like. So as you can see, we've got the Russian title, but then they translate it. So it's the Rosy Starling. You've got your regular thread list. We all know how to read that. There's our symbols, there's our thread numbers, easy as pie. I'm sure we all recognize these numbers. Now at the side here, this is, I believe this tells you how much floss you're going to need. And because we are in Canada, we use the metric system. That M stands for meters, okay? So DMC 310 for this design, I'm going to need 1.9 meters. Okay, it says there's a comma there, but that's the same as French. In French, they use the comma instead of a period. What is that? Is that the virgule instead of the decimal? 1.9? So 1.9 meters, so you would just translate that to yards for non-metric based stitchers. Okay, so it's very, very straightforward, very easy to follow. It also has the requirements down here for your fabric. So again, you just have to read through it. Most of it is in Russian, and then you'll see, okay, so Zweigart Cashel 28 count or Zweigart Belfast 32 count. Now, I'm not sure what these numbers are for that come after the fabric count. I'm not exactly sure. But right up here, I've got my stitch count for the bird itself. So I just take my stitch count and I plug that in for whatever fabric I want to use. And I will be using the same fabric for all of the birds. Okay, the only other thing that I want to point out about this PDF before moving on is something that actually I thought was excellent, really excellent. They send you 2 copies of each pattern, one with the stitching and one with the back stitching on top of the stitching. So they actually send you, let me see if I can compare 2 pages here that are part of the pattern but that don't give anything away. So let's see. Okay, so this is the very last page of the pattern. Okay, so as you can see, it's all done. It's huge, so it's easy to see. And then here's the last page of the second version with the back stitching on top. So you can see I think that's excellent because it just provides a much easier way to see what you're doing. So I thought that was really well done. So thank you so much for sending me that PDF. Now I'm going to take a guess at the designer, Anna Yubakavia. So this is the designer. When I'm editing and uploading this video, I will provide a link directly to mybobbin.com and to these, to this PDF and to the kit that I chose, because that's next. I chose a kit, and that's what I'm going to open up from them right here. So let's see. Oh, that's cute. Okay, so this looks like a freebie little chart. Dina, I was stitching when you were talking. Is this the same one that you got? I have a feeling this little Halloween freebie. So that's pretty cute. Okay, I was working on my landmark tapestry while I was visiting with Dina, and I could hear her, but I didn't look up when she talked about the freebie. So I think it's the same one. All right, so here is the kit. Here's the kit that I ordered. Okay, so the kit that I ordered is a golden fleece kit. They offer a ton of different types of kits, but I knew that the golden fleece kit was a Russian kit, so I thought I'm getting something from Russia. I wanted to try a Russian kit. Okay, so it's called Native Land after S. Bazov's painting. So I love nature, I love birds, I also love huge, massive projects. So here's the kit that I chose. And I just think that it looks like it looks like a painting. It's beautiful. That's beautiful. Okay, so this comes with 18 count Aida, Zweigart Aida. It is going to be approximately 12 by 17. And there are 36 colors in here. And they're nicely divided up for you. So that's really nice. They're already on a floss card in the back. So it doesn't say what kind of threads they are. It's a Madeira thread. Okay, so it's an 18, the kit includes the 18 count Aida, Zweigart Aida, the needle embroidery thread, which is the Madeira embroidery thread, design chart, and full instructions. You have to embroider with 2 threads. So we have English instructions, English and Russian instructions here, which is awesome. So Golden Fleece is it's a company out of Moscow. That is pretty cool. And I love, they've got a little holographic sticker on here to keep it closed and all nice. So I don't think I've ever used Madeira embroidery thread. So, but I will be using it. I'm going to use the kit as it came. I'll be using the supplies that came, as it were. So this is lovely. This is really nice. So thank you, my little bobbin. And if you're looking for different charts, different PDFs, things that you are different from what we normally see around here, go and check them out. Maybe you might find something that you love. And if you happen to like this PDF as much as I do, maybe you want to join me in stitching the Rosy Starling. Okay, so So thank you again. Thank you, my little bobbin. All right, moving into, I have another thank you. I have another huge thank you for a very unexpected gift that arrived in my mailbox late last week. And this was from Michelle. You may have recognized her as Shell on the Facebook group, Friday Off the Group Facebook group. Shell is a fellow Canadian, and she lives here in Ontario. And I actually hope to meet her hopefully this summer because she lives fairly close. She lives just off of the route that I take anyways, to drive to the cottage. My husband doesn't go that way anymore because he claims this other fancy way that he found on his GPS is faster. I don't like to go that way. I like to go the way that I know, that I'm comfortable with, that passes all the Tim Hortons on the way up. So we usually go the back way. We don't usually take the highway. So we go through all of these lovely little small Ontario towns as we go up to the cottage. So I'm really hoping to meet up with Michelle at some point this summer and have a cup of coffee together. So Michelle unexpectedly sent me a random act of kindness last week, and she chose a pattern from Traditional Stitches out in Calgary, Alberta, and she had them mail it to me. And I think she's trying to tell me something. I think she's trying to tell me that Game of Swans, I need to start that, and I need to start the Wisdom Sampler. And now I also need to start the only other unicorn chart that I have ever mentioned that I never thought that I could resist, but I was trying to resist. She sent me cardinal points. She sent me the pattern for cardinal points. And I mean, how can you not want to stitch that? Well, how can I not want to stitch that? I mean, that's just stunning. Okay, so I'm starting Game of Swans because, you know, when someone sends you a gift, in order to show proper appreciation, we really should start these things, right? I'm going with it. So I'm starting Game of Swans because Teal was very kind and gifted that pattern to me. I'm starting that this coming Friday. So more information on that on Friday's Stitch With Me video. If you're planning on joining in, there's no hard and fast rules. This is a Caroline stitch along. So start it when you want, finish it when you want, and you know, hey, we'll throw a few prizes in there somewhere. There are no rules. It's just let's stitch on the same piece together and have fun. And I'm going to start the Wisdom Sampler with Kim in June, the second weekend of June. We're going to start that. So now I just need to choose a time when to start this beauty. I'm thinking that, you know, because it's so huge, and I had already thought I would start Castles in the Air for my birthday, I'm thinking this might have to be a Christmas start, you know, like the next big event. Maybe start this before the end of the year. I'll have to think about it. But it's one of those things where it's gonna sit and it's gonna look at me and it's gonna, Caroline, you really want to start me? And yes, I really, really do. It's beautiful. And Michelle, thank you so much. You know, it made my day. Made my week. The other thing I received in the mail was an adorably lovely note from Deanna. And Deanna, I just wanted to show you that I received it and that I appreciated your words to me so much. And thank you for taking the time to send me this note. It was much appreciated. So thank you so much. All right. So before I get into the from the mailbag, I'm just going to take a quick ad break. I'm just going to pop in a little ad here from YouTube. I just like to warn you that it's going to happen so that it's not mid-sentence or you get startled or whatever, so that you just know it's there. So I'm going to go drink some more of my tea. I'll put an ad in and then I'll be right back and I'll show you my whips that I've worked on this week. And I've got a few things to talk about from the comment section from last week's video. So I'll see you in a minute. Okay, so I'm back with a few things to just briefly touch on from the comment section from last week, starting with the topic of ironing threads, which I find absolutely fascinating, and I'm going to have to try it, because how can you not try it? I mean, it just sounds awesome. Okay, so I've got a few different comments here, and I'm just going to read them directly from the people who sent them in, because I know nothing about ironing my threads, and so I'm just going to read them so that you get the full effect of what people, what these lovely commenters sent to me. Okay, so the first one up comes from Beth Fred. Beth says, yes, I iron my neon rays. I believe that's a Rainbow Gallery thread, if I'm not mistaken. Flat iron. There was a podcast last year from Fiber Talk where Christine discussed it. Those Fiber Talk people, they know what they're talking about. Works like a charm. Don't pull it, but gently run the fiber through the flat iron. I'm working on a project as I listen where I ironed my thread. So I thought that was a great comment. Great comment. Okay, so the next one comes from Poppy Stitcher, Elizabeth, who is Poppy Stitcher. And she says, I am primarily a needle pointer, and we do sometimes use a flat iron to straighten threads that have kinked as a result of being sold on a card or a spool. Neon rays seems to be the thread most often treated this way. Many of us keep a small travel size mini flat iron in our needle point tool case. They are usually less than $10 US at Target. I would not ever recommend using one that has ever been used on hair, because any hair product residue might get on your threads. I think that's actually a great point to point out. I usually don't iron my Krynic, but I do give it a firm tug from both ends when I cut a new length. It seems to straighten it out somewhat and prevents some of the knotting that can otherwise happen. Great information. Thank you, Elizabeth. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, one more. We have one more, and this one comes from, this was a conversation that happened, and it started off with a comment from Susan, golden-haired stitcher Susan. The only thread I have ever ironed is Neon Rays by Rainbow Gallery. See right there, and that's how I knew, because Susan had written that. Susan had written that it was Rainbow Gallery. So it did stick in somewhere. I just didn't remember who had said it, and it was Susan. It comes off the card with a crease at every turn around the card. I pull it tight until I feel a little give in the thread, but that is hard in the hands. A lot of my needle pointing friends use a flat iron. It smooths it nicely, but it's just one more step and one more gadget to carry, which is also a good point. Okay. And then the conversation went like this. Elizabeth Arbuthnot, I'm gonna do my best guess at your last name, wrote a reply to Susan and said, there is a gadget that I bought for my LNS a number of years ago that I use to stretch neon rays and other such ribbon or thread to straighten it out. I will try to describe it to you as I have no idea what it's called. It consists of 2 round plastic rods that are about a 1/2 inch in diameter and about 4 inches long. In the middle of each rod is a rubberized substance that is about 2 inches long. You cut a length of neon rays, wrap one end about an inch or so around one rubber part of one rod and the same around the other rod. Hold it tight to the ribbon and pull. It works very well for me as I have severe arthritis everywhere, including my hands. After using it a few times, you will find it easy and effective. Hope you can find these with my description. Okay, so if somebody out there is watching this and knows the actual product name of this tool that Elizabeth is describing, could you please let me know? Because we have lots of stitchers who deal with arthritis, and any little tip or trick or, you know, technique that we can know about and use in our little, you know, toolbox of tips and tricks is incredibly useful and very handy. So Elizabeth, thank you so much for replying to Susan with the gadget that you use. I think that's pretty cool. And then maybe we could get Country Stitchers to do Gadget Corner, and they could describe it on their Gadget Corner. You know, I've missed a few of their podcasts, so maybe they've already done this in their Gadget Corner and I've missed it, and, you know, then I'll look foolish. But, you know, what do you know? There's only so much time in the day, and there is a lot of Flosstube out there, folks. So there's a lot of Flosstube to watch. So if you're here watching me today, I appreciate you, because trust me, we are fortunate with the plethora of Flosstube videos out there. So many fun people to visit. Okay, next up, I had a question from Sarah Ashheim. I'm going again. Last names. My last name is also difficult to pronounce. So and it's not like it's difficult to pronounce. It's that everybody takes their best guess on what it is, right? Okay. So Sarah asks, have you ever done a tour of your sewing space? I would love to see it. And the answer is no. I have never done a tour of my sewing space. You are seeing one side of my sewing space here. My sewing space is half of my living room. It's half of my living room in my house, and it's not even half. I'm gonna say it's a third. I outgrew this space like 2 months after I moved all my stuff in here, once I started Evertote. And now that Evertote is full-time work for me, I'm looking around. There is no way that I would show this room in public because I work in this space. And I know lots of, I mean, just look at Christine, Stitch All the Things. She just redid her sewing room, and it's both immaculate and stunning. My sewing room looks nothing like that. My sewing room is my sewing area is really small, and it's full of bolts of fabric and, you know, a ton of stuff. And it's everything is where I know it is. My mother looked at my desk and she said, well, and she meant this as a compliment, and I took it as a compliment. She said, you know, Andy Rooney was a creative genius. Did you ever see his desk? No, I don't think my desk is quite like Andy Rooney's, and I do try to, you know, I try to keep things where I know where they are, but I have a lot of stuff, and I don't always tend to put things away after myself after I've been using them, but I do know where they are. So have I ever done a tour of my sewing space? No. The other thing is, this is a big part of my family space. It's a big part of, like, my sewing space is integrated into my home where I live and where my kids play and where, you know, we come together as a family. And so that's kind of personal for me, if that makes sense. And I've shown little snippets of corners here and there, like when I showed my Hearthside floor frame. You saw you maybe saw my carpet and maybe the coffee table. And I think I did a Flossmas episode a year ago where I recorded my Christmas tree that was behind me. So I will sometimes show snips and bits and pieces, but not a tour. We live in an older house that needs some repair. So we are actually undergoing some of those repairs at the moment. And so things are in a little bit of upheaval here and there. And it's not, you know, the perfect crafting room, sewing room of my dreams. And so it's not that I'm embarrassed about it. I'm not. It's functional. It's extremely functional because I do a lot of work here. So it has to be functional. But it's not pretty. It's not like, you know, for example, I just mentioned Country Stitchers. Have you seen her craft room? Holy smokes. So no, probably won't get a tour anytime soon. That was a long-winded way of saying, this is the part that you can see. And we're gonna leave it at that. So, but thank you for asking. Okay, so, and now you're all gonna call me Andy Rooney. So there you go. Next up, okay, so I had a couple of Flosstubers leave me their channel names. I had 3 people leave me their channels. I managed to visit 2 of the 3. The third one I will be watching later this afternoon when I do some sewing. So the first one was Ivy House Crafter. And Ivy House Crafter left me a comment, a question. I would like to know a bit about your schedule. How do you arrange your time to be able to get stitching done so many project bags, knit beautiful shawls, etc., and still spend time with your family. I try to do all of those things, but there's always something that gets shortchanged, usually housework and project bags. Also, I have a Flosstube channel if you're interested in checking it out. So again, that's Ivy House Crafter. I will put her name on the screen, and I will put the name of her channel and a link to it in the drop-down box below. Okay, so the bit about my schedule. First of all, I'm going to start this with a comment about you, Ivy House Crafter. I went and visited you. I watched your latest video that was up, and I had a great visit, and I thank you for sharing your channel with me because it was really nice to come and visit with you. My first comment to you about your question is we're in slightly different places right now in our season of life. You're in a season of life where your kids are young, and I believe you also homeschool. So we are in two totally different places right now. My daughter is 17, almost 18. She's almost 18. She is fully self-sufficient and almost on her way out the door to lead her own adult life. My son is almost 11, and he still needs a lot from us as parents, but he's not a toddler. He's not, you know, I don't have to make sure he's gonna not fall down the stairs and kill himself. Do you know what I mean? So, and also my kids go to school, so I work during the day. And when you talk about how do you sew so many project bags, that's my full-time job. That's what I do. I do still do some private teaching, private music teaching. But my full-time job during the week is I'm at my sewing machine and I'm making bags. And that's my job, and I love it. How do I do all the other stuff? Well, I try. Here's the thing. Those that know me well, and if Ginger Gerald is watching this, he's laughing his head off right now because I can have a problem focusing. And any of you that are watching this probably are now just laughing your head off as well, because yes, I can get easily distracted and go off in a tangent and start telling you 5 other stories that will, you know, lead you back around to the original story that I started with. That's kind of how I live my life as well, which can be both awesome and I get a lot done, but it can also be my downfall. So I try really hard to work with my strengths, and I know that I don't have an attention span that I can't focus on something for 5 hours. It's just not going to happen. So I try to do, you know, I try to have a couple of things going on at the same time, and I will try to focus on something for, I have a timer. I've got a timer on my watch, and it's really easy. I just hit the button, and I know that until that timer goes off, I've got to focus on one thing. Timer goes off, okay, 5 minutes, go make a cup of coffee, whatever. Set the timer, clean up the kitchen. That's another thing. I work from home. So when the kitchen is dirty, it's staring at you in the face. So it's sometimes hard to get your work done if you know that there's, you know, that going on. But I don't want to spend 3 hours in the kitchen. So I will set my timer. It's like, okay, 20 minutes. That's what you get, kitchen. 20 minutes. And I'll zoom around and try to get as much done as I can. Timer goes off. Time to move on. 20 minutes and something else. Now, it depends on the task. The kitchen might get 20 minutes, but I might focus on sewing for half an hour because I've got certain things that have to be done. So I'll put all the zips in for half an hour, and then I'll do something else, and then I'll come back and I'll, you know, cut bat for half an hour, and then I'll do something else. So it sounds like it's a little bit all over the place, but for someone who has to be in charge of all the things that go into running a business, if you've got to do it all, you have to manage your time. And it's tough for someone who gets distracted easily. And so my biggest tool in the toolbox is using my timer. There's an app on my phone called Focus App. I started off by using that. And then my husband gave me this watch last year for my birthday. He's an Apple guy. and I'd been asking one for one for a while, so he finally caved and gave it to me, and I love it. I use it every single day about 1,000,000 times for everything. And the timer function on it is genius because it vibrates on your wrist. And so, okay, move on. But if that timer hasn't gone off, I better be focused on what it is exactly that I'm doing. So I also try to make time first thing in the morning when I get up. That's time for me, for stitching. So I know Vonna has a tag, the Coffee and Craft Revolution. I've been meaning to post something because that's usually my time in the morning as well. At least if it's, 15 minutes, half an hour, just to put a few stitches in with a cup of coffee, just to kind of get your day going, is kind of my favorite. And then at night, I work a lot. I work late hours. If I have sewing that needs to get done, I will work late. And my family, that's the other reason why my sewing room is integrated into my living room, because we live here and I can sew well with my family around me. And so we hang out as a family, and usually the sewing machine is going. And my kids know that they can, they can talk to me, but if I'm really busy, then I have to say, okay, you guys need to pretend like I'm not here. Because if I was at an office, you wouldn't have this kind of access to me. But most of the time, Nicholas can come over and show me what he's been working on or something about his video game. And my kids, Nicholas is like me. He can talk the ear off a dead chicken. So he will talk. And sometimes I'll be like, as I'm sewing. And apparently, I've just found this out recently. Apparently, when I say, we'll see, that means no. I didn't know that I was doing that. So I'm watching out for that a little bit more. So, work-life balance, it's always in flux. It's always something that I'm trying to better. Now, I will say this. You mentioned that things get shortchanged, usually housework and project bags. The one thing that's been getting shortchanged for me is taking care of my health, taking care of exercise, really good nutrition, doctor's visits that I've been putting off, just yearly checkups, kind of things like that. Those sorts of things have been getting shortchanged, and I've been doing a lot of thinking lately about that. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that on Friday Off the Grid, because I've had a few thoughts going through my mind about that and how I'd like to address that for myself. And, maybe that might be something that might interest a few of you out there if you are finding that like me, with sedentary work and sedentary hobbies, it's a problem, and it's a problem that I'm 44, and it's time to address it now, while I'm still young enough to address it. Do you know what I mean? So, and certainly I can tell you, Diana, it's Kismet Stitches, lovely girl. She started the Flosstube Fit Club. And I believe this was all about, her starting to think about the same things, taking care of herself, and other stitchers remembering to take care of themselves as well. So she has a Facebook group, Flosstube Fit Club, and I think I'm going to join that. That's going to be step one. And I've gotten back onto my treadmill. I've gotten back into a little bit of that kind of routine, but more effort needs to be made. For my health. So that's the one thing that's been shortchanged. Thank you for the question. Sorry I went on just a little bit. Okay. Now I think, two other Flosstube channels, people who left me comments. Connie Gee Stitches. So I visited Connie Gee Stitches this morning with my coffee and stitching, and she has some beautiful whips that she's working on. And she also ordered she talked about ordering the embellishment pack for the Lizzie Kate Christmas Mystery Stitch Along. And this one, The Spirit of Christmas. She ordered the embellishment pack for this, which made me think, yeah, because I've been kind of on the fence about ordering the embellishment pack because I'm not usually a button and bead person. But as I'm stitching this, I'm thinking that I don't know, I might. I'm still not, I'm not 100%, but I'm getting there. So Connie Gee Stitches, she also is a designer, and she has an Etsy shop with her designs, and so is Ivy House Crafter. She also sells her pattern designs on Etsy. And then the third and final Flosstuber who left me a note that they have a channel is CZookStitch. And I believe this is Carolyn. Pretty sure, I don't have her comment right in front of me, but I know this is Carolyn. Carolyn Zook leaves comments all the time, really, really kind. So I am going to be visiting you later this afternoon as I'm finishing up a bit of sewing and after flute choir rehearsal, because it's 11:38 now. They come at 2, so I have to make sure that my kitchen is cleaned up and not a total, you know, disaster before they arrive. So maybe while I'm cleaning up the kitchen, I'll pop on Carolyn's video and have a little visit with you. So thank you for leaving me all of your wonderful questions and comments. I've saved the last one for the last because he gets his own very own category, his very own special sparkly screen cap for Kyle. Question from Kyle. So Kyle sent me a good one this week. Not that his questions aren't always good, but this one in particular I thought was well worded and interesting. And he says it's a serious question. He says, okay, I have a serious question that's been bugging me and I'm not sure if there's an actual answer to it. Okay, so I recently got a Lowry stand and I'm now killing it with the two-handed stitching. However, I feel like I'm in the minority of stitchers that use their dominant hand on top rather than on bottom. Way before I even ever considered getting a stand and stitching two-handed, the idea of having my dominant hand on bottom seemed very odd to me. And lo and behold, when I tried stitching with my dominant hand underneath, it became incredibly frustrating. I switched my dominant hand to the top, and within 5 minutes, I was stitching away as smooth as can be. So why is it that the dominant hand seems to be the bottom for most stitchers? Is it merely just a preference, or is it an unwritten rule? And I must stress that I am highly aware that there are no rules in cross stitch. Please enunciate that. So I will enunciate that. There are no rules in cross stitch, that the dominant hand should be under the fabric. So actually, Kyle, interestingly enough, and I know Myra would 100%, she'd be cheering right now for you, because putting your dominant hand on the bottom is apparently the correct way to stitch two-handed. So I'm sitting at my desk and I've just started editing the video for to put up for today, and I got to the section where I'm trying to answer Kyle's question about the two-handed stitching, and I just did a terrible job. So I'm going to insert this short little video in here in place of what I said. I'm just gonna completely edit it out because it was true to form, a little bit rambly, and you know, my experience with two-handed stitching is different from yours, Kyle, because I put my my non-dominant hand on top, but I keep meaning to practice and try with my other hand on top. Anyways, I went back and I found a comment from Myra Richmond, who is my go-to expert for two-handed stitching. She took some classes, Japanese embroidery. She's kind of an expert in two-handed stitching, and I always trust her comments when it comes up. So I went back in some of my old Stitch With Me videos and I looked up her comment to me on why having your dominant hand on top is actually the correct way to two-handed stitch. Though those of us who do it the other way around, we like to say that there's no rules in cross stitch, and we'll probably keep doing it that way. But here's what Myra has to say. You mentioned that one of the advantages is that we can see your stitching better, which is how I had my camera set up at the time, which we can, and it looks good. However, there's another advantage which you may not be aware of, but you will learn to not touch your stitching as much with your fingers. If you were to branch out in your stitching to do, let's say, gold work, the fabric material would be different as well as the floss. The stitching method would stay the same. However, if you touch the surface with almost every stitch, the oils from your fingertips would stain your project. I learned the hard way many years ago. So, in a nutshell, that's the reason why we should really practice having our dominant hand on top. Makes sense. So, Kyle, I hope that answered your question. Keep on doing what you're doing. Having your dominant hand on top is the way to go. Nothing wrong at all with what you're doing. So, back to the other video. So, okay. So this section was way longer than I intended it to be. I may go back and cut out a few minutes. So I'm gonna get right into showing you my whips. So I showed you Spirit of Christmas already. And I did actually manage to stitch a fair bit of this top section on the weekend. So, and I know my fabric it's not centered properly, and it's a little bit crooked in the Q-snap, mostly because of the batting that I've got. I should have batting that goes all the way so that there's an even amount of tension on my thing, and I was in a hurry to get started, so I didn't. Again, know your strengths, people. I wanted to get to the stitching, so anyways, it's coming along. And I know I posted a photograph on the Facebook group of my border, and I was crowing, oh, I finished the top border, finished top border. And then I looked closely at the photograph and I realized that I've missed a stitch. I've missed one little stitch in this guy right up here. So the next time I pull out this color, I'll go back in and I'll get that missed stitch right there. So I am using, this is a 32 count linen in the Heartland colorway. It is the called for fabric for this design. And I'm using the called for threads as well for this design. So the called for over-dyed flosses and the called for linen. For once, everything that the pattern called for is actually what I'm using. That is rare for me, but I liked it. And my L&S at the time, Thread and I, they were selling it as a kit. You could buy everything that you needed for completing the design. You know, I wasn't gonna stitch this. I had avoided this pattern, and then I saw my friend Robin, and if you're watching this, Robin, thank you. I appreciate you enabling me. I saw Robin stitching this at a retreat that we were at together, and I just fell in love with it because these colors are just me, and it was different for a Christmas design to be sort of in the pinks and purples and you know, just a different colorway for Christmas time, not the traditional red and green, and I loved it. And so anyways, so then I called Kathy on the phone because we had gone to the retreat early, and I called Kathy at the shop because she was going to be coming up later that day, and I said, could you just bring it for me on your way? I'll pay you when you get here because Robin's stitching it and I really love it and I want to stitch it now too. So these things happen. Speaking of enabling people, the other thing that I've been working on is my Landmark Tapestries and Charts Savon, and I'm going to insert a little video right here of the progress that I made since Friday. Not a ton, but a little bit, so I'm just going to it's just like a 5-second clip just so you can see what I've got done. So I received an email from Claire, the owner of CelticHobbies.com, and she actually said that she said, I only just heard about your podcast a few days ago because we've had a run on this pattern, and basically she didn't know what the heck was going on. So she said that there would be stitchers who would be waiting for it an extra week until it was shipped out. And there are clearly more of you out there who love these geometric patterns just like me. And I showed, if you're interested, if you missed last Monday's video, I did a video clip of the companion piece to Savon, which is Arjesh, which was this colorway, this one right here. So I did a video clip of my finish of this. It's fully finished and framed and everything, and then I showed how it looks when it's finished, and then how different it is from the colorway that I'm doing now. Because these little photos that are on these patterns really do not do the finish justice, because they are stunning. Stunning. I love them. They're one of my favorite things to stitch. I just love them. Okay, so that's pretty much all I've been working on that I can show you, because I have been doing some secret stitching. And I might show you that secret stitching next week, and I'll just ask the person that it's for, I'll ask them to turn off the video. We'll see. I haven't decided yet. So some secret stitching has been happening. So I have done a little bit more than what I've shown you here. Okay, so really quick shop update today, and then I'm gonna get back to my sewing machine and my tea. So first up, I have a one-of-a-kind set that I made. You've seen this fabric before because I did some flat sets with it last summer. And I had a few pieces left over, and so I thought, oh, let's just see what we can come up with. So what I did was I made, first of all, so this is just one of a kind. I've just got the one set, that's it. And it's slightly larger than the regular medium wedge tote. So it's actually an inch wider. So this would fit an 11x8 Q-snap. It has the boxed bottom, so it's roomy. So the regular mediums you can fit an 11x8, but it's a little bit squishy, whereas you're gonna have plenty of room for an 11x8 in this bag. I put a strap on the side instead of the tab or the ring, so it's got a strap that matches. There's a tonal white liner, and then I made a little matching notions pouch. So I seamed a few little leftovers together and put them together. So I lined them up, and I made that little matching notions pouch that goes with it. So this is one of a kind. I have a few little scraps of this fabric left, but I think I'm gonna make something for myself out of it, because I love this combination. It's bright, it's happy, it's just a beautiful color combination. So anyways, that's up in the shop. The other thing that I have cut and pieced and ready to sew together that I'm working on this week is a kind of a black and white collection, pen and ink drawing. So this is the bag, this is the main bag. And there you can see the floral design there. I love it. I love it. It does come with a matching notions pouch, both with black zips, and then the lining, this is so fun. The lining is a black and white box pattern on the inside, squares, little squares to go with that. So I have both medium, which is the 8x11 size, and the large sizes, which large fits an 11-inch square, with pattern, with threads, with all that malarkey. So the bags open up. I usually keep 2 or 3 bags. 2 or 3 projects per bag. So that's it. That's my shop update for this week. Thank you for watching. If you're still with me, I have a feeling this is another long one. I'm gonna see what I can do with the editing and maybe cut down a little bit, because I just really like to keep them to about just under an hour. In fact, I'd like to keep them to half an hour, but the question section seems to play on my strengths of talking, and I tend to talk way more than I need to. So most of you don't seem to mind at all, so we'll just carry on. I hope you have a great week. You know, it's almost Easter time. Game of Swans is starting this Friday, which is appropriate since apparently there was some big to-do last night that the last season of Game of Thrones started. I am not a watcher of Game of Thrones. I have read all of the books. That's probably why I haven't watched it, because I'm, you know, I like watching, I like murder mysteries. I like, you know, true crime, stuff like that. But Game of Thrones is really, really, really violent. And I've been kind of hesitant because sometimes I don't always, I'm a little squeamish sometimes. So I'm not sure that I ever will watch it, but I never say never. But I have read all the books, and I'm desperately waiting for George R. R. Martin to come out with the final book, because I'd really like to read it. So if he could just hurry up, please and thank you, then that would be great. But anyways, that's it for me. It's almost Easter. Game of Swans on Friday. I hope you'll join me for my Stitch With Me video on Friday. And happy Easter if you celebrate, and I will see you. I'll see you later. Have a great week.